Ladies and gents, welcome back to the channel. So you could probably see behind me here, I have a 1990 LX convertible on the hoist. Now this car has been on the channel before. I did a short little video on it on whatever I titled it, all original. I'll try to give you a link to it up here. All original 90 LX convert, and it's a super clean car, black interior. Like the only things not original on this car are tailpipes, mufflers, and H-pipe. Other than that, bone stock. It even has the original ashtray door and it works flawlessly. So give you a pretty good idea how original the car is. Anyway, my buddy that owns it, he called me up and said, hey, you know what? I noticed a little bit of coolant underneath the car as it sat over the winter months. Wondering if I could bring it down, we could put it on the hoist and have a look. So I didn't even know, or I couldn't even find a coolant leak to begin with, which is rather odd, especially considering that he had a bit of a, not a pool, but you know, like had some coolant on the ground. So I'm gonna get you into the car and show you sort of what I went through to try to find where this was coming from, because it was actually quite difficult to find the leak. But it is something that you can check out in your car, on the driveway, in the garage, wherever, and save yourself a potential big disaster down the road, because this is an early telltale sign of worse things to come. I went all over the underneath of the engine compartment looking for coolant. I mean, obviously this could be coming from a hose. Hoses are dry. I thought maybe a head gasket, which is kind of a far stretch to think that it might have been a head gasket, but you never know, right? I thought water pump. I checked out the water pump. I couldn't really see anything. And then, well, obviously the overflow, right? The reservoir, nothing. So it wasn't until I was just kind of standing here staring at stuff and I got looking up at the weep hole in the bottom of the water pump. You can see how it's kind of green around there, right? Well, that's typically a telltale sign that the seals have gone on the shaft of your water pump, and you'll get an ever so slight leak out of there. I mean, obviously leaks can be worse or better than others. This is a slight leak. It was enough to create a little bit of a puddle on his garage. It's called like a 1-inch puddle. But that right there is an indication that the seals are going on your shaft inside your water pump. Now, those could just slow leak forever, or they could leave you stranded on the side of the road. So it's kind of one of those things where you never know how bad it could get, but if you notice the leak, I guess I may as well be the bearer of bad news. You should just get yourself a new water pump and change it out and be safe rather than sorry, because that could let go on you, leave coolant all over your engine, stranded on the side of the highway. You're trying to have a nice Sunday afternoon cruise with the family, and there you go, right? So we're going to be changing the water pump in this old girl. At the same time, he wanted to do a couple other things. Being up here in Canada, right, it makes sense to order more stuff if you're thinking about doing things down the road, because shipping gets a little cheaper. You can put it all in one box, whatever. So we also are going to do we got a Ford Performance idler pulley, wants to get rid of the smog pump. We got the couple block off plates for the back of the cylinder head. So I've done a video for you guys that watch my videos all the time. You know that I just did this on my convertible. So I won't bore you with all that stuff. I'll link to the video, and you can, whatever, in your own time, check that one out. In this case, I just want to do kind of a water pump swap video for you. There's a lot of them on the web. Who knows, I could run into something that maybe you wouldn't see in one of the other videos. God forbid, broken bolt, whatever. But yeah, I'll try to run you through all that. Now, like I say, I really wanted the premise of this whole video to be like, here's something to consider, something to watch out for. It's very easy to check and make sure you're in the safe zone rather than the sorry zone, okay? So that's the premise, but anyway, I'll get you under there with me and I'll kind of show you what I'm doing. We'll get this water pump swapped out. Okay guys, here's the breakdown. We got to get this fan shroud out of the way. We got to get the mechanical fan off. I'm going to pull the fan shroud and the overflow reservoir out. So in order to do that, just pull the hose, your overflow reservoir hose, off of your rad. All of that will come out once you unbolt it, the 4 bolts off the mechanical fan. I'll give you a link to the video of me changing my mechanical fan if you're confused as to how to pull your fan off. We got to drain the radiator, okay? This is a, well, I guess I got to go back on what I said earlier. This is an aftermarket rad in this car. So anyway, if it's the original rad, or in this case an aftermarket with a little petcock down at the bottom corner, spin that petcock open, drain your radiator out. If you don't have one, you could always pull your lower rad hose off and drain your radiator that way. And then from there we're going to pull the belt, okay? And then we also need to pull, in this case, an air conditioning car. The bracket holds on to the water pump with 2 nuts and these longer studs. I'll show you those once we get a little bit further into this. We're going to set that out of the way. We're not going to undo anything to do with the air conditioning system. Also going to loosen the power steering bracket off and get it out of the way so we can access the water pump. Right, so here we are. As you can see, air conditioning pump, I mean, you guys kind of watched this on fast motion here, but the air conditioning compressor moved out of the way. I've loosened off all of the water pump bolts, gotten rid of my top hose here, main hose that goes to the thermostat, and gotten rid of my heater core feed lines, right? So now, this still has some fluid in it. Well, maybe it doesn't anymore. It's all kind of slow leaked out on me. But anyway, it is, oh, pardon me, I got one more bolt here. It is ready to come out. Just watch when you go to pull this thing off, like you still got some fluid in there, right? So be careful. But okay, I've got it all. Anyway, I'm gonna get this guy out of here. I need both hands to do it, and then I'll talk to you guys about cleaning this area up and prepping the new water pump to get it dropped in here. Looks to be original equipment. Okay, good opportunity to put your new water pump by your old water pump. Make sure, double, triple check that you got the right water pump. But anyway, it's always fun to kind of have a look at these and try to figure out what might have been going on or where they were letting loose. Gasket seemed to be leaking a little bit in here, but it's to be expected, right? Car's getting quite old. But over here on the motor cover, or pardon me, timing cover, this is where, so I've still got, the gasket stayed behind and stuck to the timing cover, okay? So I gotta ever so carefully get all of this gasket material out of here, clean up this surface real nicely, and like I say, careful, you know, maybe plug off any open holes you've got, so in case you're using any kind of power tools like a Scotch disc or something to buff this out, that you don't get any foreign material in these water jackets, okay? But clean this all up, get your gasket off and a clean surface going, and we're gonna go over and tidy up the new water pump. Now this may be a neat time to mention this. So this bolt kit's kind of cool. LMR actually gives you a nice little diagram. You could always, you know, if you weren't just throwing bolts as they came out of your old water pump, always use that as your diagram, but kind of neat that they give you that. All new hardware. So then we're gonna flip this guy over, brake clean, make sure that that mating surface of the water pump is good and clean. And then we're gonna go ahead and put our gasket on. Now, I do something a little bit different than most. This gasket, in theory, is, I don't know, I guess everybody's got their own little tricks, but in theory, it's supposed to go on dry. Now, I like to put a little RTV on mine. I don't hose RTV on it as if I'm getting ready to glue a diff cover on. I just put a nice little slight layer on both sides as extra insurance to seal these things up. Now, the reason you don't want to go crazy on these, and or the reason they don't recommend you use any RTV, is because if you get RTV throughout your coolant system, you can plug things up. You could pile up your thermostat. Anyway, there's all kinds of issues. But if you're really delicate and you just paint on a real, I'll show you guys, but you paint on a real nice flat, like I'm talking couple thou worth of black RTV, it helps me sleep better at night. Okay, I'll show you that process in a minute. I'm gonna get after cleaning this area up. I don't want to bore you guys with that. Get this gasket off here, buff that out, get everything ready so we can drop the new water pump in. All right, so we're all cleaned up in here. Okay, Scotch disc, brake cleaned, ready to go. Keep an eye on the fact that I don't get any coolant there. Still dry, perfect. Now we're to the fun part, the gaskets and mounting the new water pump. Okay, so like I said earlier, I like to put a really thin coat of RTV around here for extra insurance. It also helps you when you're actually putting the gasket in place. Now I'm gonna take one extra step. So these bolts on the back of the water pump are imperative, okay? And they come tightened from the factory. So I've loosened them off. I'm gonna back them out. There's another gasket between this plate. Okay, I am going to do the same with this gasket. This is yet another spot where things can leak. So I'm gonna chase some RTV in and around here to make sure that there's no chance that this thing's leaking. Okay, and then I'm gonna put my cover back on, bolt it up. Then I'm gonna get to the actual gasket between the water pump and the timing cover and put all those in place. So I'll show you guys what this looks like before I put it in place and like how much RTV I actually used. It's slight, okay, ever so slight. And you got to be careful with it. You don't want to get in your coolant passages. I said that earlier, but just slightly add RTV. Okay guys, here it is, in and ready to turn. Now, I guess some of the things I left out and didn't really discuss with you, I put new hoses on, new hose clamps. This client got some anodized black hose clamps. New hose here, new hose clamps, new hose here, again, new hose clamps. And yeah, that new bolt kit sure looks nice. The one part that I did leave out, I'll try and mention it on the screen for you while I'm doing it, but these bolts get torqued to 18 foot-pounds. Obviously I got to put all this bracketry back on, but I'm going to try and leave a lot of this out while I change the smog pump out, or take the smog pump out and replace it with an idler pulley here. That's up next, but again, I won't bore you guys with that. There are new nuts here too for bolting this accessory bracket back on, so kind of cool on that LMR kit. But yeah, that's how she looks. Okay guys, well that's gonna wrap this one up. I hope you learned something. The water pump's fairly straightforward, just so you know. I mean, if you've got a little bit of mechanical aptitude, a little bit of time, you can do one of these. It's not super difficult. The only trick that I do that's a little different than, say, maybe the book is, I showed you there, do the little RTV very, very, very light, okay? So light that like it can't squish out, if that's your point of reference for how much to use. Very, very, very light, just a dusting, okay? Helps everything stick and just gives you a little bit more added security. I'm gonna get after doing the rest of this stuff. Got to bolt the bracketry and everything back up, but like I said, I'm gonna leave that so I've got room to pull this smog pump and everything out. But yeah, I hope this helps you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. I'm trying to think what I got coming up for you here. I think it actually might be some stuff on either the convertible or my coupe. I'm gonna try and get it down and put it on the hoist. Might be a neat little walk underneath and show you guys what that car looks like underneath. So I'll keep you posted, but stay tuned for that. It's always on Tuesdays is when I try to load them up. So thanks for following along, guys. I really appreciate it. And any questions or comments on anything you saw today, please feel free, hit me up below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks, I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye for now.